Hi everyone, it's Rach. Welcome back to my channel. So for today's daily dose of happiness, I am going to be speaking about a video that Miranda Hart put out recently. I mentioned this in the video that I did yesterday. I will pop a link to yesterday's video down below. Be sure to check that out because I basically did a good news roundup and it's bound to bring a smile because some of the stories are lovely. But basically I said that I'd come back and talk a bit more about Miranda Hart in the video because she made the video to raise awareness of kind of chronic illness and how people with chronic illness live. And I thought it was a really important one to discuss on my channel because obviously one of the things I speak about a lot is chronic illness, one of many things, but chronic illness is obviously a significant part of my life. So yeah, Miranda Hart, the comedian and actress, she put out a video. It's quite a long video, but it's definitely well worth a watch. I'll pop a link to it down below. It's on her Facebook page. And she was essentially just sharing some of the thoughts she's been having since this pandemic started and since the UK's gone into lockdown. And she shares lots of different things on the video, but in particular, she focuses on chronic illness and the fact that the lockdown we're in at the moment is actually really how many people with chronic illness live all of the time. Now, she's been vocal about this in the previous weeks. There's been things on Twitter and things like that. But the video goes into a bit more depth and shares a bit more about kind of, I guess, why she's passionate about it and how important she feels that the issue is. I thought it was brilliant. It's great to see a predominant figure talking about chronic illness. It's always great when people use their voice for good. And I think the points she made were really, really valid, really accurate, and definitely reflected how I feel sometimes living with rheumatoid arthritis. So she talked a lot about the isolation, which I think is a huge part of living with chronic illness. Certainly for me, a couple of years ago when my health was very, very bad and not kind of as well controlled as maybe it is now, I lived essentially just in the house. I had to stop working. You don't realise how much of your social life comes from work until you're not working anymore. It was devastating for many reasons. One of the biggest things though was that loneliness I felt suddenly being stuck in the house. If I have a really, really severe flare-up, because obviously my condition kind of can flare and then settle and then flare and settle, it's an endless cycle. On really severe flares, you know, I have to walk with walking sticks and a wheelchair sometimes. So getting out of the house is really difficult. If I'm having a very severe flare, it can leave me bedbound. If not bedbound, then certainly housebound. So it can be very lonely. And I know certainly for a lot of people, they will relate to that if they have chronic illness. And there are many chronic illnesses actually that are like that all of the time, that are certainly more severe than mine. Obviously chronic illness covers so many different things. I happen to have rheumatoid arthritis and trigeminal neuralgia, but you know, Miranda talks in a video about chronic fatigue syndrome. Also sometimes ME, she talks about fibromyalgia, she talks about a whole host of different things, and all of them generally experience chronic fatigue, chronic pain as part of their symptoms, and for a large part these illnesses are invisible to the naked eye, which can make them even more isolating. So yeah, I felt it was really great that she was talking about illnesses that generally either don't get a lot of attention kind of in general or are seen wrongly as, you know, well, you know, just a bit dramatic, whatever. You know, these are real serious illnesses that have a devastating and debilitating impact on people's lives. And finally, you know, as awful as it is, and I desperately wish this pandemic wasn't happening, the suffering that is being caused is devastating. However, if we want to look at some good that may come out of it, is that I hope that perhaps the general public might now be slightly more sympathetic to what people with chronic illness live with on a daily basis. It's not just the isolation that people live in, it's also the grief, and I hugely can relate to that. It's daily grieving when you have a chronic illness. It's not just, oh, I got ill, that's rubbish, I'm devastated, I'll get over it. It's little things every single day. You know, not being able to work was a huge one for me. It's taken me years to come to terms with that, and doing the blog was a huge part of healing, to be doing something productive, obviously from home when I'm able to, but also just the little things, missing out on concerts, missing out on nights out, missing out on meals out, holidays, doing different things with children. It's endless. I could go on forever. But that daily grief that a lot of people are feeling right now because they've had cancelled holidays or cancelled events that are really important to them, those are awful, and that grief is absolutely valid and real. And I guess, hopefully, now people have experienced that, which I'm devastated they've had to experience it, but hopefully they might see a little shred of how people with chronic illness live daily. It isn't just us being dramatic or anything like that. It's, it's real daily grief, and it's incredibly difficult. And, most of us stay really positive most of the time because you have to. The thing with chronic illness is it's lifelong, it's incurable. There's treatments that can help manage it, but there's no getting better. It's life-changing. And you have to somehow find a way to come to terms with that and live the best life you can. But one of the most difficult things can be the responses from other people. And I know a lot of people I speak to within the chronic illness community, and certainly I've experienced it again myself, you do lose friends. You do have people doubt your pain. You do have people say some pretty horrendous things to you or about you, which often get back to you. General not nice attitudes from the public a lot of the time as well. When I use a disabled parking spot, if I haven't got my walking stick, or if it's before I've gotten out of the car, I have had some horrible looks. I've had some horrible things said to me. Now I've got a son. It's worse. Somehow, God forbid disabled people should have children. But that's a whole different story. But yeah, so basically it's well worth to watch the video. I'm not going to ramble on too much because I'm mindful I've been talking for ages. But I just wanted to say to Miranda a huge thank you. It is fantastic to look at that video, see the views it's had, see the likes it's had, see the comments it's had. I think most people within the chronic illness community who have watched it are extremely grateful. And if you are chronically ill, absolutely go and watch it. Share it with your friends, share it with your family, because it is very relatable. The other thing I want to briefly mention is she mentions one of the charities she's going to be donating to, all the proceeds that she earns from her shop. She's picked a couple of smaller charities, and one of those is Chronic Illness Support for All. Now that is one that I was very familiar with anyway. I'm a member of their private group on Facebook, and I follow them on Facebook. They're a wonderful supportive group. They do some fantastic things, they really do. I'll link their website down below. I will link their private Facebook group, and I'll link their Facebook page. Well worth checking out. They're fantastic. It is the most supportive chronic illness group I'm a member of, and they have done a great deal for me in terms of support. But it's not just the support side. You can celebrate the successes you have, you can share the struggles you have, but they do games, they do so much fun stuff. It gives you a real kind of social aspect as well. So yeah, they're wonderful. Definitely check them out. Like I say, Miranda mentions them as well in her video, but I just wanted to give a shout out to them because I think they're absolutely wonderful. So yeah, that is today's Daily Dose of Happiness. Obviously very specific to chronic illness today. I probably will look at doing a good news roundup again, potentially tomorrow, because I know people like that. So if you do want to see more of the good news stories that I did in yesterday's video, be sure to give a comment and let me know. If you don't already, make sure you subscribe to my channel, and if you found this video interesting, useful, then give it a like. See you tomorrow, guys. Bye.